Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, the Yankees avoid a sweep by the hands of the Phillies and eke out a win there to breathe and live another day where seemingly it just almost looked like it was going to go rock bottom as it could get for the Yankees this weekend, losing Aaron Judge to the IL, pretty much getting the brains beat out in the first two games against the Phillies where it almost looks like this, AL East is kind of slipping away from the Yankees, but again, able to hang on for the final game there at a 4-3 win and a much gritty needed win there and get a little help from Detroit for them beating Toronto and at least now pull the Yankees within 5.5 games of first place in the AL East. So a lot to go on with the Yankees. Kind of waited a little bit because obviously we had the trade for McMahon, of course. Then right after that, the other person who I thought they would get instead of McMahon, Amed Rosario, also now in pinstripe. So I kind of want to wait for this last Phillies game to just kind of get that in so we can kind of recap the whole deal. So we'll do the whole thing. We got the Phillies series. Of course, not much of it is good for the Yankees, except there's a couple of bright spots, such as Stanton almost seemingly hitting a home run every game now. But other than that, you look at that last game, the Yankees is kind of one of those moments of the season. And you can almost look at the Sunday game against the Mets at Citi Field, same thing where like if they didn't win that game, you could really see the tidal waves and the walls start come crumbling down there for the Yankees. But I guess I said before, live to play another day by just grabbing onto that final game of 4-3 win there. So get into the whole thing. But before we get started, make sure to subscribe to this podcast, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast, wherever you get your favorite podcast, and of course the YouTube version of the show. Dropped the latest episode a couple days ago, and kind of went over both McMahon and Rosario, and it could be a little dated, of course, but I kind of made the case more Rosario would be likely, but who the hell knew? You get both of them there, so kudos, for cashing on that one. So subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. So going back, started the series with Ryan McMahon making the trade there, but the Yankee pitching first two games really gave you nothing there. Will Warren and finally Stroman having a non-effective start for the Yankees, and the Philly offense has really beat the Yankees' brains in the first two games there. Yet another series loss for the Yankees, who just, I think, other than the Washington Nationals over the last, 40 games or so, have been probably, record-wise, one of the worst teams in baseball. As again, they seem to struggle during the summer as they did last season. I didn't think that would happen. I guess I was wrong on that one. And then the news even gets worse, finding out that Judge needs to go to the IL. And he made, I guess, that throw in right field in the Toronto series. And he kind of grimaced a little bit. So they looked at the UCL on July 24th. Now, the good news there is that there was no tear there, so he didn't tear the UCL, so it's just a right flexor strain, which right now looks like it's going to be a legitimate, solid 10 days on the IL. And that one was like, 10 days on the IL and the guy's gone for 2 months. It seems like this the way everyone's talking about it. It's a legit 10-day IL where he should at least be back within the 10 days. But the plan for him now is when he does come back to be a DH, to kind of keep him out of right field, doesn't have to make it all those throws anymore to further aggravate that elbow. So, and plus the Yankees kind of a bit of a plethora of outfielders, so all things could be said it could have been a lot worse, but just the fact if Judge did then have to go somehow be shut down for the rest of the season or need some type of surgery, you could really just pretty much kiss the season goodbye. Even as now, again, I still feel confident they have a good run in them. Even Judge said that. I don't think it was this bluster saying, even after they lost the last game against Toronto, that this team has a hot run and it's ready to go there. So, it could be him, the captain, saying the right thing. But again, we haven't seen the Yankees be really good in a while there. So I think they have that in them at some point. I just don't know when it's going to kick in. You thought maybe to kick in against the Phillies, this weekend series against the Phillies. Apparently did not. And the Yankees is able to just do just enough in that Sunday game to hold on. Just got kind of a gritty start by Rendon, fell behind 2-0 early. Gave up a couple of home runs there in the top of the second, where it looks like the Yankees are pretty much just about to be left for dead. And the new guy Ryan McMahon with bases loaded off of Zach Wheeler, who Wheeler's actually coming off a IL stint of himself there. But again, Zach Wheeler, quality pitch there, getting a 2-run. Double to at least tie the game at that point, and the Yankees would go ahead later on and barely hold on to a 4-3 win. Everyone kind of contributing on that one. Luke Weaver, Hill, and of course Devin Williams now, who's again taking a stranglehold on that ninth inning closer role, holding on, having a strong ninth, including 2 strikeouts, and the Yankees barely hold on for the 4-3 win. And of course, a little help from Detroit, them beating Toronto 10-4. The Yankees at least get an inch back, a little bit closer now, 5.5 games back. At least to be within striking distance. Again, within a week, you could really be right back there. So again, I'm not going too crazy with that, but let's say the Yankees lose this game, now you're behind 6.5, 7.5, and with Boston, pretty much at that point you would be tied with Boston for third, second or third place there. So it's not where you want to be. So the Yankees desperately really needing this win, especially the fact that you're not going to have Judge now for the next week or so. There, almost 2 weeks of no Judge, so it seems to have to find offense and have to find the ways to win, without the big man Judge. Now it's good that Stanton's heating up a little bit, and you heard some talk that the Yankees might want to consider him as an outfield option with the absence of Judge. I do not like that move. Don't do that. And I know at some point when Judge comes back, and then you can't have 2 DHs. I don't know how you're going to have to work that out. Maybe a platoon situation, but I do not want Stanton in the outfield because you know what's going to happen. First, the second play, he's just going to pull something, and then you lose that bat. So they'll have to wait when Judge comes back and just kind of figure it out from there. Maybe they'll look at numbers, and if it's there might be that rare pitcher out there that just owns Judge, then maybe you sit Judge that game and play Stanton. But I do not want Stanton playing the outfield. I know they're considering that. And they also mentioned, too, they always want to put down any sort of rumors that somehow maybe Judge would likely want to play first base. They shut that down immediately. Said Judge will not be playing first base, even though it is something that he did in college. But it's pretty much going to be a DH till he comes back, and then maybe when he stops feeling sore, maybe at some point put in the outfield, but totally not going to be a first baseman. And speaking of the infield, of course, the new guy, Amed Rosario, who, all things considered, I thought might be a little better option than McMahon there at third base. Yeah, you didn't think they were going to go after two guys, but nevertheless, looks like they did also bring a Rosario in here. And of course, with him, a little bit more flexibility than other than third base. If you might, recall, obviously here in the New York area when he came up as a Met, he originally came up as a shortstop and has bounced around a little bit between Cleveland, Tampa, the Nationals, the Dodgers, and with that, over the course of the year, he has been a kind of a jack of all trades. So he does play third base. That's where he played the most games this season for the Nationals. Can also play the outfield, so seems like he's more kind of a bench player, role player is going to be for the Yankees. And as it turns out, in terms of, they might also do a little platooning at third with McMahon. And if you want to look at the slash numbers, so against lefties, and of course McMahon's a lefty hitter, he's only hitting 207, so I'm not shocked that he's not going to have good numbers. Whereas Rosario, his line against lefties is 299, so he's almost hitting 300 this season against lefties. So you can see why they maybe Cashman want to bring him in there. So if you're facing a lefty, probably you give Rosario the start or the nod there at third base. Now, I always thought a little bit also interesting with Rosario. Now, even though he hasn't played a ton of shortstop, but he does have experience. He could also maybe Cashman maybe firing a little warning shot over Volpe. And I know Volpe hit a home run in the Friday game there, but still struggling with the batting average in down there in the 212s, 213s, and of course maybe just the way he was botching the ball there in the Toronto series. You'll see maybe Cashman have something to lose a little patience with him, and maybe Rosario just might be a warning shot that hey, if Volpe doesn't get his act straight a little bit, you could put Rosario in there and just in that just addition away. Maybe Rosario doesn't have Volpe's power there, but at least you're not going to be throwing balls away. And at least you'll probably have quality better at bats than you'll see with Volpe and leaving guys on base in the whole 9 yards there. Now, interestingly, Joe Madden, the former Tampa manager, he was on recently, maybe like MLB Network, and he thinks, judging the situation, that they should actually send Volpe down to the AAA, which I just don't think at this point of the season. I know, yes, he has some struggles. He's only 24, so it's not like you're sending like the time the Yankees were considering Jason Giambi down to the minors there when he was a well-established superstar veteran. But I think maybe if you're going to make that decision, maybe you had to make it early in the season. I think at this point, you're almost like you're way past the halfway point. I mean, there's only about a little bit less than a month left in the minor league season there. So, yeah, would it help Volpe maybe clear his head a little bit and maybe just work on some fundamentals and kind of get back a little bit? Yeah, but I think at this point, it's too late in the season to do that. So as much as he's been struggling, I just don't think that's the right move. I say do keep him up here, but if you want to maybe just dangle Rosario around him that, hey, if he doesn't clean up his act a little bit, maybe he might lose some starts and some playing time to Rosario. And other than that, Rosario, you probably going to see him do some pinch running. He's got some speed. He could come off the bench, and I said he could play multiple positions, kind of like what we had with Oswaldo Cabrera before he went down with the broken ankle. He could play infield and outfield, most of the positions, and he could also play shortstop there if Cashman wants to decide to give a little warning shot to Volpe. I don't think that's totally it. I just think they probably see Rosario as platooning at third base, and then maybe it's occasional start once in a while. Maybe give Jazz a night off once in a while, something like that, or maybe some sort of late inning defense like that. So that's going to be his line there. And again, he doesn't come with a ton of power. I mean, he only has like 5 home runs. He's hitting 270, but again, a good steady, not over the hill guy. He's only 29 years old. Just a good quality veteran you could put in, and again for multiple roles there. And now we still have a couple more days left, obviously. Trade deadline is the 31st, so I think Cashman's still going to be out there. I will still expect maybe at least you can see a bullpen move, but you also might see a move with a starter as well, because Will Warren lately hasn't been that well. I mean, early on in the season, and he still has the velocity there, but his last couple of starts have been a little bit sloppy. So you can see maybe if the Yankees want to looking to make a move there. I know you have Luis Gil coming around the corner, but still you may want to make an upgrade. Just the fact that even with Stroman, who's overall been okay with the Yankees since coming back there, but he is what he is. I mean, he's a 5-inning pitcher, maybe 6 innings at the very best, but pretty much only a 5-inning pitcher there. So the Yankees still a little bit thin in the starting rotation. I mean, again, Rendon kind of battled through it in the final game against the Phillies, great, but there are some problems with this Yankees rotation. Of course, now with Max Fried dealing with this blister and bloody fingers all over the place there. there. Obviously, he's definitely, his second half has not been good for him as well. So, again, Yankees a little bit thin with the pitching, and of course, that's what we saw the first two games. The Yankees absolutely getting their doors blown off by the Phillies. In the first two games, the game was pretty much over by the third or fourth inning. At least he got a good performance today by Rodon to keep the score close, keep the Yankees within there, where they at least able to get a big inning from McMahon and company, take a lead, and then have the bullpen hold on to it for dear life, and of course Williams closing it out. So the Yankees added another piece, and I'm sure they're going to be adding some more there. But you can see the frustration starting to mount there, and again, at least to hold on to a 5.5 game series. But if it slips further than that, things could really start to unravel a little bit. And of course, now you have to wait for another 10 days about or so for Judge to come back. And of course, I'm sure you saw the whole thing with Boone and John Boy there. Boone kind of snapping a little bit, we don't care what you think. We kind of do our business. Yes, we do care, but we're not going to slam helmets down and go crazy, which I understand the point he was trying to make. But you can start seeing the frustration starting to mount a little bit with the different things, and him trying to keep sticking up for Volpe, which is, again, as the manager, he's a player's manager, he's going to do that. In terms of job security, if you got the clubhouse still, that's maybe a good thing for a manager. I think it hurt Joe Girardi. I think Joe Girardi lost the clubhouse, even though that team got one game away from the World Series there. He had enemies in that clubhouse. Guys did not like him. Gary Sanchez didn't like him. Aroldis Chapman didn't like him. And it seemed like some other guys didn't like him there. So that's not the case with Boone there. So now if something happens where the Yankees don't get the AL East, and maybe they get in as a wild card, but obviously don't last maybe past the championship round, good case you can see maybe Boone not be back for 2026, and so that's probably what's floating around in Boone's mind as he's get a little angsty, a little agitated there, and now you got to deal with this Judge stint to the IL, and even if Judge comes back, that thing's going to be bothering him. He's not going to be 100% there, so you're just going to have to go probably the rest of the way with maybe like a 85-90% type of Judge versus you want 100% there. So, Yankees live to play another day, make a little upgrade with Rosario, like the move. Didn't have to give up too much. There's Clayton Beater, who the Yankees got him in a couple seasons ago in the Joey Gallo trade, had a little bit of promise. It was hurt a little bit early this season. We saw some glimpses of him. Nothing special. I mean, there was nothing there you saw that like he would throw 100 miles per hour or there's something about him. They're like, oh, we got to keep this guy. So gave up him and an outfield prospect, Braun Martinez. So didn't have to give much to get Rosario. I think this is a positive move for the Yankees, similar to the move for McMahon. Again, the Yankees really didn't give up too much there. Just a couple of minor league arms to get a good quality third baseman with some pop in his bat. I know he has a low batting average, but so far so good. You want to save cash with these two moves. Again, give him these are BB plus type of moves, not stellar. You're not bringing superstars in here, but you're getting good quality players, and you're not giving up much. You are making upgrades to this team. So we'll see what else Cashman has under his cap till this coming Thursday. So catch you next time.